You simply cannot stop this Red Sox offense right now. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Red Seat Radio. My name is Corbin, and before I get the comments, yes, I know we look a little bit different here. We moved, we are in a new space, we're working on the lighting, we're working on the background, so bear with me here. But aside from that, the 2023 second half is officially underway, and for the Boston Red Sox, it started really strong. They took 2 out of 3 games from the Chicago Cubs. That officially puts them at 50-44 on the season. They are 6 games above 500. They are no longer in last place. They are in 4th place in the division, and most important of all, they are just 1.5 games out of a wild card spot. And all of this was mostly due to the fact that the Red Sox offense is absolutely mashing baseballs right now. So what we are going to do in today's video is we're going to break it all down. We're going to talk about what went down in this series. We're going to talk about the latest Red Sox highlights. We're going to talk about what went wrong in this series. We're going to talk about how explosive this offense has been, and we're going to talk about how this series affects the 2023 Red Sox season. But before we get into that, do me a favor. Make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button on this video as well. Helps these videos out a ton, and it would mean a lot to me. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one. Let's get into it. Obviously, we're going to start today's recap by talking about what the offense was able to do in this series. And if we're talking about series MVP in general, look no further than Rafael Devers. Because Rafi in this series, he went 6 for 13 with 3 home runs and 2 doubles with 3 total RBIs. He had a 2 home run game and then a home run in the last game. Devers was flat out mashing. He started off the second half on an absolute tear. Really, he ended the first half on an absolute tear as well. But this is sort of like the Rafael Devers we know and love, this sort of otherworldly, how could he possibly have done that type hitter, and he's slowly getting back to that, and that is absolutely fantastic. Not that he wasn't anything but productive in the first half, but I would love to see him in the second half get back to that, oh my god, Rafael Devers that we've been talking about for what, the last 5-6 years now. Outside of Rafael Devers, Tristan Casas had 3 home runs in this series as well, but his were 1 in every single game. He ended up going 4 for 9 throughout the entire contest with 5 RBIs, again those 3 home runs as well. He's becoming a very good offensive player. So far this month, he has an OPS of 894 and an even higher OPS plus at 137. Every single month, he continues to improve on both of his offensive statistics, whether that be average, whether that be OPS, whether that be slugging, right? He is improving in almost every single category on a month-to-month basis, which I find really fascinating and honestly very impressive as well. So Tristan Casas was absolutely fantastic in this series along with Rafael Devers. Masataka Yoshida was quiet in one of the games of this series, but in another game he was absolutely insane. He had a monster game that included a grand slam and a 2 RBI triple in the finale of this one. He did struggle, like I said, in the middle game, but he had a 2 for 5 day in the first game of the series. Masa is also the first person since Ted Williams to have 8 multi-hit games in a row with his performance in the first game, and is now in 2nd in the AL in batting average. The fact that there were legitimate baseball executives, guys who run or are in legitimate front offices of legitimate MLB teams, that said that the Red Sox should never have done this, that there are some guys that think he was a platoon player, that there were some guys that think he was worth half of what the Red Sox paid, is absolutely mind-boggling to me, right? Masataka Yoshida has been everything and honestly more than what his contract was promising. Justin Turner, Mr. Consistent, once again had an impactful series. He had 4 RBIs in the series. He also had a 2 double game in the second game. It's just JT doing what JT does at this point, right? I don't know what else to say about Justin Turner. The dude has been absolutely the most consistent piece of the Boston Red Sox over the past couple of months. Masa and him together are just absolute hit machines. I mean, we talk about him every single week, right? There's not much more we can say that we haven't said already about Justin Turner. Turner. Yu Chang had a home run in this series in the first game, and he had a 2-for-4 day in the last game of the series. Interestingly, the Red Sox are 11-4 when Yu Chang is starting at shortstop. It's really interesting to me that, hey, if you have a competent defensive shortstop out there in the field, there's probably a pretty good chance this Red Sox team is going to pull out the win. I'm just saying, it's a really, really interesting statistic. But either way, a fairly decent series for Yu Chang, who's not known really for his offensive prowess. Adam Duvall had a monster home run in the first game of this series. He's kind of leveled out to about what we were expecting at the beginning of the year, right? A guy who sits around 250, who's going to be able to get on base for you, but he has that power potential, and he's going to leave the yard if you mess up with your pitches, right? That's sort of what we were expecting from Adam Duvall. What we got at the beginning of the year was head and shoulders above what we were supposed to get from Adam Duvall. So this is kind of what we would normally be getting from Adam Duvall, and it's been productive, right? Over his last 2 games, he's had a home run. Hopefully he continue the power surge and he can be a guy who's going to put one out of the fence every couple of days, right? That would be absolutely fantastic for this Red Sox team, and it would be much more productive than what we've been getting from Duvall lately. Outside of those guys, you got an RBI from Rob Refsnyder because, of course, it was against a lefty. Now, Rob Refsnyder is the greatest lefty hitter of all time, so yeah, of course he had an RBI in this one. Doogie had an RBI in this one, although the rest of his series was pretty quiet. And overall in this series, they don't call it the friendly confines for nothing, right? The ball was absolutely flying for the Boston Red Sox. The Red Sox were mashing baseballs all over the field. Part of that, again, had to do with the ballpark they were playing in. Part of it had to do with the weather, but a lot of it had to do with the Red Sox putting good swings on the ball, right? Which is a great way to start the second half. This Red Sox team was hot to finish the first half, but we've seen this offense really get hot like we saw at the end of the first half and then absolutely cool off, right? Just absolutely kind of disappear for the next couple of weeks. And I was nervous that 4 days off would do exactly that to the Boston Red Sox, but instead they went up against an AL Cy Young candidate, Marcus Stroman, who's been one of the better pitchers in Major League Baseball this year, and Hendricks as well, who's been really solid for the Chicago Cubs, and they were able to put up really decent numbers against every single one of them, and that is an absolutely fantastic sign. What I really loved about this series was the fact that you were getting production from the guys you needed to get production from, right? We've talked about it before, that spreading the love in this lineup, playing station-to-station baseball, getting to these guys, the Devers, the Masatakas, the Casases, the Turners, right? Getting to these guys in the lineup so that they can do the big boy damage is exactly what this team needs to do, and that's exactly what they did in this series, right? We got guys on base. They were taking walks. They were singling up the middle. They were doubling into left field. Jarren Duran was turning doubles into singles. But the guys who were doing the big damage were the guys you're paying money to do the big damage, right? Those are the guys you expect to hit the ball a long way, and they did that in this series, and it led to a lot of wins, which, again, points to just how versatile this offense can be, right? They can beat you going station to station, bloop singles, errors, RBI singles dead up the middle, right? Or they can beat you just absolutely demolishing you. 2 walks and then a 3-run home run, or a single and then a 2-run home run, right? They can beat you in a ton of different ways, and that was on display in the Chicago Cubs series. So overall, I think what we saw from the offense is a really, really encouraging sign that it wasn't just a hot streak at the end of the first half. This may be a legitimate, hey, we've turned a corner here. As for the pitching in this series, Brayan Bello got the ball game 1, and the Chicago Cubs actually got to him a tiny little bit. He ended up going 6 innings, allowing 3 earned on 8 hits while striking out 5. But if this is what a team getting to Bello looks like, we are in for a really, really great next couple of years, because that's a really great sign, right? That the fact that this is the first time he's allowed more than 2 runs in over 5 starts is absolutely wild. Brayan Bello has been absolutely fantastic for the Boston Red Sox, and really the only reason he let up those 3 runs is because they were playing at Wrigley Field. If they were playing anywhere else, that might be a bit of a different story, because Cody Bellinger was able to tag him for 2 home runs, but overall he pitched really, really well. I think he pitched a little bit better than his stat line shows. The second game got James Paxton, who put up an absolute stinker. He was only able to get through 3 innings, allowing 6 earned on 6 hits while striking out 4, and more importantly, walking 3. It turns out James Paxton is human human after all, right? This is, I feel like, is going to happen from time to time. Pitchers are going to sort of blow up. He just simply didn't have his stuff this weekend, right? It happens, especially once you're a little bit of an older pitcher. But at the end of the day, what I really like about this James Paxton start is that it wasn't an injury, right? As long as he's not injured and he can figure out what the hell happened in this start, which was kind of a perfect mixture of bad defense, walks, and just simply missing your spots that led to a grand slam. As long as he can figure out what he did wrong, I'm not worried at all about James Paxton. He's a veteran pitcher that just simply didn't have his stuff in that start. I'm pretty sure he will be fine going forward. But the best start of this series may have come from Kutter Crawford, which is a bit surprising in a series where you got both Bello and James Paxton pitching in, because Kutter in this series went 6 innings. He allowed just a singular hit in the first inning. He struck out 9 batters and walked 4. This was an absolutely huge outing for Kutter Crawford because the Boston Red Sox needed length. James Paxton didn't give you length. Bello gave you length, but those are your only 2 other starting pitchers. Everyone else is going to be an opener followed by a bulk inning reliever, right? You needed Kutter Crawford to go out there and give you innings, and he gave you more than enough innings, right? He gave you 6 innings, and he only allowed a singular hit in those 6 innings. It was absolutely fantastic to watch, and it really did save this Red Sox bullpen going forward through the next couple of weeks. If we could consistently get starts like this from Kutter Crawford and Paxton can figure out whatever the hell happened in that start, this could be really, really great for the Red Sox rotation. As for the bullpen in this series, there were a couple of guys who had really rough series, right? Taylor Scott, who ended up getting DFA'd in the middle of this series, had 2 rough games in this one. Jake Farah, the guy who came up and replaced Taylor Scott, had a really bad outing in this one. Brandon Walter got touched up a little bit. But outside of those 3, it was a pretty solid series in terms of the bullpen, right? You were either winning by a ton, so you didn't need your high leverage guys, or you were losing by a ton, so you didn't need your high leverage guys. So you didn't really see, you saw Kenley in the first game after Taylor Scott absolutely messed that up for you, but you didn't really see Chris Martin. You saw Josh Winkowski for a little bit, but you didn't really see those guys in their true natural roles, right? Where Josh sort of comes in big situations and helps shut you down and bridge you through the 7th to that 8th and 9th inning. Chris Martin, I don't think was used once in this series. One guy who did look good, Joely Rodriguez. Joely Rodriguez looked really good again. We talked about it over the last series that, hey, hopefully this is sort of a turning point for Joely because he was looking terrible at the beginning of the year. It looks like he may be starting to make that turning point. Joe Jakes looked pretty good out of the bullpen for the Red Sox. So there were a lot of good in this series in terms of pitching. There was a lot of bad in this series in terms of the pitching. But really the star of the show throughout this entire series had to be the Boston Red Sox offense. As for its impact on 2023, series like this are going to have a huge impact on what the Red Sox do at the trade deadline, and 1, and more importantly 2, what they look like in terms of contention at the end of the year, right? We talked about it all the time. The Red Sox kept playing down to their opponent. When they were playing great teams, they played great. When they were playing bad teams, they played bad. To come out of the first half against the Oakland A's and not do that, and then have this break, and then come out into the second half and still be able to dominate teams that you're supposed to dominate. And the Cubs aren't exactly a terrible team either, right? They are below 500, yes, but the Chicago Cub pitching in this series was really, really great. To be able to come out and dominate a team that you were supposed to dominate is a great sign for the Boston Red Sox. This is how you sort of reach that next level, right? We were in that mediocrity range the entire year. To reach that next level, you got to be able to beat the teams that like the Cubs, like the Athletics, like the Mets, right, coming up. So this stretch is super important. The Red Sox starting the second half on a really, really positive note is an absolutely fantastic way to do that. So overall, I think, yeah, this series could be a bit of a launching point for the second half, which would be absolutely fantastic. But that's just my opinion. So let me know in the comment section down below, what did you think of this latest Red Sox series? What did you think of the offense? What did you think of the defense? What did you think of the pitching? Let me know all your thoughts on the Red Sox latest series in the comment section down below. As always, if you made it to the end of this video, do me a favor. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys hit the like button on this video as well. Helps these videos out a ton, and it would mean a lot to me. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one, and I will see you in the red seats.